The Senate will come to order. Senator Ulibarri, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Thank you, Madam President, and colleagues, guests, please rise and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Majors, would you please take the roll?
Aguilar, Balmer, Baumgardner, Brophy, Cadman,
Excused?
Crowder, Grantham, Guzman, Harvey, Heath, Herpin, Hill, Hodge, John, Johnston, Jones, Jones,
Excused?
Kafalis, Kerr, King,
Excused.
Lambert, Lundberg, Marble, Newell, Nicholson, Renfro, Rivera, Roberts, Scheffel, Schwartz, Stedman, Tocktrop, Todd, Ulibarri, Zenzinger. Madam President.
Here. With 32 present, 0 absent, 3 excused, the Senate has a quorum. Motion to adopt the journal. Senator Herpin.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that the reading of the journal for April 9th, 2014 be dispensed with and the journal be approved as corrected by the Secretary.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The motion is adopted. Please add Senator Jones to the roll call. Committee reports.
April 9, 2014, Committee on Business, Labor, and Technology. After consideration on the merits, the committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 166 be referred favorably to the Committee on Appropriations. April 9, 2014, Madam President, the Committee on Education has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointment and recommends the appointment be placed on the consent calendar and confirmed. Member of the Colorado Commission on Higher Education for a term expiring July 1, 2017, Regina Marie Rodriguez of Denver, Colorado, a resident of the 7th Congressional District and a Democrat, reappointed. April 9, 2014, Committee on Education. After consideration on the Merits Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 167 be amended as follows and as so amended refer to the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. April 9, 2014, Committee on Education. After consideration on the Merits Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1345 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation that it be placed on the consent calendar. April 9, 2014, Committee on Education. After consideration on the Merits Committee recommends the following: House Bill 1291 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with a recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 9, 2014, Committee on Education. After consideration on the Merits Committee recommends the following: Senate Bill 168 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 9, 2014, Madam President, the Committee on Judiciary has had under consideration and has had a hearing on the following appointments and recommends the appointment be confirmed. Member of the Juvenile Parole Board for a term expiring November 15, 2018, David Owen Slay of Grand Junction, Colorado, to serve as a public member not employed by state government appointed. April 9, 2014, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 174 be amended as follows and as so amended before the Committee on Appropriations with favorable recommendation. April 9, 2014, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1302 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 9, 2014, Committee on Judiciary, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1131 be postponed indefinitely. April 9, 2014, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following Senate Bill 173 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation. April 9, 2014, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1290 be referred to the Committee of the Whole with favorable recommendation with the recommendation be placed on the consent calendar. April 9, 2014, Committee on Health and Human Services, after consideration of the Mayor's Committee recommends the following House Bill 1227 be referred favorably to the Committee on Finance.
Senate Services.
April 10th, 2014, correctly printed, Senate Bill 186, correctly re-revised, House Bill 1299.
Members of the Senate will stand in a brief recess. The Senate will come back to order. Please add the minority leader. Thank you. To the roll call. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I request that Senate Bill 152 be removed from today's consent calendar. And members, we do this every time when we only have one bill on consent, and placed at the end of today's general order second reading of bills calendar.
Senate Bill 152 will be placed at the end of General Order's second reading of bills calendar. General Order's second reading of bills calendar. Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move the Senate resolve itself into the committee of the whole for the consideration of General Order's second reading.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will resolve itself into a committee of the whole for a purpose of considering second reading general orders. Senator Newell will take the chair. Go grab him, Paul.
The committee has come to order, and the coat rule is relaxed. Senator Johnston. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 152? Oh, I'm so sorry, we're doing that at the end. So it would be House Bill 1295.
House Bill 1295 by Representative McCann and Senator Ulibarri concerning residential mortgage foreclosures and in connection therewith requiring a single point of contact and prohibiting dual tracking.
Thank you. Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move House Bill 1295 and the Judiciary Committee report.
To the Judiciary Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In Judiciary, we adopted Amendment L004, which clarified that this only deals with home mortgages and not other kinds of mortgages that are exempted under the CFPB rules.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the committee report? The motion before the body is for the adoption of the Judiciary Committee report on House Bill 1295. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and the committee report is adopted. To the bill, Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1295 passed unanimously out of Judiciary Committee. It does two simple things. First, it ensures that there's a single point of contact when homeowners who are going through the foreclosure process are dealing with a servicer. And the second is it prohibits a servicer from dual tracking a homeowner both to a loan modification and also through foreclosure. We've seen cases where folks have been foreclosed upon as they've been working on a loan modification. What this largely does is mirror the federal regulations to ensure that homeowners are protected as they go through this process.
Fantastic. Is there any discussion on House Bill 1295? Seeing none, Senator Rivera.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question of the bill sponsor. My concern might be that concerning this bill, since it bars dual tracking. Thank you. Since it bars dual tracking, I would be concerned that it's a possibility that the unintended consequence might be that the mortgage companies not being able to do both might end up saying they're just going to go with foreclosure, and so there's not that option for the consumer. If I could get clarification on that.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Pueblo. I wanted to answer that question. Under the mortgage settlement that came out after the financial collapse, one of the requirements is that loan servicers and mortgage lenders are required to offer loan modification options. And so that's currently required under federal law, and so that's something that they have to do. What we're doing is mirroring the dual tracking provision that came out of the settlement agreement as well. And so it just says that if you're making a good faith effort to work with your mortgage servicer and you're going through the loan modification process, they shouldn't be foreclosing on you at the same time because it is a lengthy process to go through the loan modification. We've had folks who have gone, filled out every single form, have worked, and one of the challenges that was exposed during the mortgage settlement is that because some of these larger services had one office in Houston, Texas, and another in Boise, Idaho, you had to call two different offices in two different states, and someone wasn't getting the right form, and it meant that one department was foreclosing on you as another was approving your loan modification, and homeowners were then losing their homes when they had complied with everything that had been requested of them. This provision has already been enacted. It started in January of this year at the federal level. And it's designed to ensure that homeowners have the ability to remedy, and there's already the protection in place that they would have the ability to do the loan modification. It's not something that can be taken away as per the mortgage settlement that came out. The second thing I'd say is that the Mortgage Lenders Association, Colorado Mortgage Lenders Association, worked with us very closely on this bill and testified to that effect in committee as well.
Senator Rivera.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on House Bill 1295? Seeing none, the motion before the body is for the adoption of House Bill 1295. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1295 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to House Bill 1312?
House Bill 1312 by Representative Williams and Senator Ulibarri concerning efforts to reduce the number of foreclosures in Colorado and in connection therewith continuing the foreclosure deferment program.
Thank you. Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Colleagues, I move House Bill 1312.
To the bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. House Bill 1312 is just a year-long extension of the Colorado foreclosure deferment program. As was discussed in committee, this allows public trustees to defer a foreclosure for 90 days to assist with the loan modifications we were just discussing. So those servicers and the homeowners have the ability to negotiate those terms as they're moving forward. We recognize both for the industry, the lenders, and others, it's good to keep homeowners in their homes, and it's also good for homeowners to stay in their homes. Going through the foreclosure can be damaging to the local economy, to the family, and to the lenders themselves. And so this extension allows those folks to work on those conditions. It moves the process forward easily, and the public trustees testified that they like this program. One of the reasons why it's only a continuation for 1 year is that the mortgage settlement allowed for the foreclosure hotline, which is the central point in Colorado that allows HUD-approved counselors to go through the qualification process. That mechanism may not be around longer than a year, so we want to ensure that we're extending the deferment program only as long as we have the infrastructure in the state to support the HUD-qualified counselors to ensure that the homeowners who are qualified for this deferment can receive a 90-day extension if eligible. So with that, again, I renew my ask for an aye vote on the bill.
Thank you. Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Members, I did vote for this in committee, but quite frankly, I've had some second thoughts on it, and I had actually told the sponsor initially that I wasn't sure, because when this program was put in place 3 years ago, I did vote against it. And it's not just trying to be consistent, it's trying to figure out what should or shouldn't be. And in discussions I've had since then with some folks, they brought up a question that I can't answer and vote for the bill, and that is because in committee, the person who was representing the lenders said, because I asked them, is there anybody who's against this? They said, no, we love this. We like this program. We want to keep it going. Well, here's the program, and that is that they defer in certain situations for owner-occupied homes, if other details are satisfied, that the foreclosure process is deferred for an additional 90 days. And they said, look, this helps us work it out, and we find that we're actually dollars ahead because more homeowners can sort it out. Well, if that's the case, I say go for it. They ought to do that. And they ought to be smart enough to know when it's the appropriate time to do that. And when the government steps in and says, we're going to put this automatic 90-day requirement, if you satisfy these standards, then they have to defer it. I'm confused. Why do we have to tell the mortgage, the lender, what they tell us is something they know works already? Why must it be a mandate? And for that reason, I'll be voting no on this on the floor, because I just can't find any justification in my mind why the government has to tell the mortgage lender, you have to do this, when the lender is telling us we think it's a great idea and we want to do this. Well, then we ought to get out of the way and let them do it. As a matter of fact, they might find that 120 days works better. Or for some, maybe 60 days is the appropriate number. But why must we be mandating something that they insist is working for them in the first place? Do we have to tell them when it's time to cross the street? Or can we assume that they can look both ways and figure out now's the prudent time to take this action?
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to the good senator from Berthoud for his comments. I would just like to point out that the foreclosure process and the public trustee system that we've put in place to ensure that foreclosures are handled in a good way has set timelines and set deadlines, and that's why the lenders follow those deadlines. The deferment program allows eligible homeowners, it has to be their primary residence, they have to meet a whole set of other qualifications to qualify for the deferment. But this is an additional tool that lenders and homeowners can use to ensure that those folks are staying in their home, which is both good for the lender and good for the homeowner and good for the community. They've asked for this continuation, and to be clear, the Colorado Mortgage Lenders Association came in, the Bankers Association came in strongly in favor of this bill because it does continue a process, an additional tool to ensure that homeowners can stay in their homes and in their communities. I will say one thing that stuck out to me in testimony is that although we are through the recession, although we are through the bulk of the economic impact that we saw in 2008, still here in Colorado, 800 homeowners a month are having their homes foreclosed upon. 800 a month. And so we know that there's a program that exists that can assist qualified home buyers to stay in their homes, to negotiate a loan modification or work through another deal with their lender, which is good for the lender, good for the homeowner. This makes good business sense. It makes good sense for homeowners. And we still are facing a large issue here in the state of Colorado when it comes to people facing foreclosure. So with that, I again ask for an aye vote.
Thank you. Senator Harvey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Senator Ulibarri, I'm sorry I didn't talk to you about this before. I didn't even take a look at this bill. I apologize for that. But I'm trying to remember what the deadlines are. You mentioned that there are deadlines for the foreclosure process and how this works. Can you talk to that a little more? Because I believe that they can't even start the foreclosure process for about, I don't want to say, but it's longer than that. I think it's pushed out to like 6 or 8 months that until it actually gets to the courthouse steps. So they can start the foreclosure process in 60 to 90 days, and then that foreclosure process takes a certain number of months. And could you walk us through what those timelines are? Because I believe they are getting to a point where they can live in the house for 12 months to 15 months with this bill without having to pay a mortgage. And can you explain that timeline and how that all works? I'm sorry, I didn't look at this before the bill came up.
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the question. The timelines are pretty complicated. I think that's a fair statement to make. So I can give you a general sense of how I understand it. The lenders generally will issue a notice of foreclosure after 60 days of delinquency. I want to be clear, though, and we heard testimony to this effect in committee, that being delinquent might not mean that you didn't make your payment completely. It may be that a payment was made short. Maybe you've had a medical emergency or something else. You're $200 short. You send in $1,000 instead of $1,200, and now you are considered delinquent. And so as you're trying to catch up to get to that point where you can pay that extra $200 plus the next payment, you may be considered delinquent, and they will file a notice for election in demand. And so you are right that it is a prolonged process to go through, but most of the folks who testified indicated that they had continued making payments or were working on a loan modification to ensure that they could make payments and stay in their home. And so these aren't folks who are sitting in a home and not making payments. And again, this goes to what the eligibility requirements are of the deferment program. And I'll walk through what those are. To be qualified for this program, first, to be eligible for this program, you have to ensure that this is the first lien on the property. The borrower must reside at the property on the date of the notice of election in demand. So someone couldn't have been squatting there and move out. They have to actually physically reside there. It has to be their primary residence within 90 days after the date of the deed of trust. They must intend to continue to reside there. So this is really their home. They're wanting to keep their home. And the borrower must be personally obligated on the debt, and the original deed of trust principal amount has to be $500,000 or less. With these eligibility requirements, they go through the HUD-approved counselor to ensure that they're eligible, and then they go through a qualification. So these are folks who meet all of these requirements, sit down with a HUD counselor. And the reason they sit down with a HUD counselor is to ensure that they can actually work through the loan modification so they're not just sitting in a home that they're unable to pay for. If that's the case, they are not approved. They are not qualified. They may be eligible, but they're not qualified, so they wouldn't be eligible for a 90-day deferment. If there is a situation like I just explained where a homeowner has gone maybe through a personal medical emergency, and that was the issue that caused a delinquency, and they're working on a loan modification and they're building back up from that and they've gotten back on their feet, it's likely that the HUD counselor will look at their financial situation and say, yes, you do have the income, you have the capacity, you have the ability, I will qualify you. So that person was eligible, then they were qualified to have that 90-day extension to work through the issue. If that person says, I lost my job and my wife lost my job and there's no way we're ever going to be able to pay the mortgage, they would not be qualified under this program.
Senator Harvey.
Thank you. I'm still not sure I understand what we're doing here because somebody, does the individual have to be paying something during that foreclosure process to the point where they get to the modification program? Or can they go for 12 months without paying anything and then get an additional 3 months on top of that without paying anything? I understand they are the primary lien holder on the property. That's what's being foreclosed. I understand they live in the house. That's my issue. They're the primary lien holder. They took out a note with the promise that they would pay that note, and they're able to live there over 12 months, I think, at this point, without paying anything, and then they are able to get an additional 3 months on top of that without paying anything? Or are they in a modification and they are currently continuing to pay the bank just at a lesser rate, or can they be there without paying anything? What's the difference we're talking about here?
Senator Ulibarri.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you again for the question. Good senator from Highlands Ranch. So for folks who are going through the loan modification process, general requirement for that completed application is that you have to continue to make payments. You can't just live free of charge and expect a loan modification. There may be an issue where, again, if there was a medical emergency, you missed a month, you still have to make up that month, but you were expected to continue to pay. And so someone couldn't live there for 12 months and then get an extra 3 months. That's not how the qualification process works. The certified HUD counselor would look at that and say, you now have 12 months of mortgage that you have not paid. Here's the total amount that is due. Maybe you don't have enough to pay that back. There's no way that modification will be approved, or there's no way for you to cure. Therefore, you're not going to get an extension. And that's how the program works.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, the motion before the body is for the adoption of House Bill 1312. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and House Bill 1312 is adopted. Mr. Majors, would you please read the title to Senate Bill 152?
Senate Bill 152 by Senator John and Representative Melton concerning the standardization of financial transaction requirements applicable to insurers.
Senator John.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I move Senate Bill 152. And this was heard in committee. It was unanimous and placed on the consent calendar, but removed this morning because it was the only one there. So this really is just removing duplicity and making it a much more efficient process when it comes to working with the National Association of Insurance Commissioners that adopted the significant changes to the insurance holding company system Regulatory Act and the model regulation of derivatives in response to the financial crisis brought upon our country by misuse of complex financial instruments. And so Colorado doesn't want to have to go through a lot of different states to do their licensing, and this will help to, it actually will be as a home state of domicile. This simply rewrites to comply with the NAIC, and it harmonizes all of the legislation.
Members, could we have it more quiet in here? We're getting requests from
with
senators.
all of the other states. So with that, I ask for an aye vote on Senate Bill 152.
Thank you. All those in favor of the adoption of Senate Bill 152, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Senate Bill 152 is adopted. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move we rise and report.
Thank you. The motion before the body is to rise and report. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and we will rise and report.
The Senate will come back to order. Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee has met and heard a number of bills under consideration. Mr. Majors, would you please read the report?
April 10, 2014, Madam President, your committee of the whole basic reports under consideration of the following attached bills being second reading thereof, makes following recommendations thereon. Senate Bill 152 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed, placed on the counter for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1295 as amended. House Bill 1312 passed on second reading and ordered revised, placed on the counter for third reading and final passage.
Senator Newell.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for the adoption of the report.
Is there any discussion on the committee of the whole report? Seeing none, the question for the body is the adoption of the committee of the whole report. Are there any no votes? With 34 ayes, 0 noes, 0 absent, and 1 excused, the committee of the whole report is adopted. Senate Bill 152 passed on second reading and ordered engrossed and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. House Bill 1295 is amended. House Bill 1312 passed on second reading, ordered revised, and placed on the calendar for third reading and final passage. Announcements. Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't see any announcements. Let me just do the committees real quickly then. The committees meeting as scheduled. Ag is meeting in room 356. Health is meeting in the old Supreme Court chambers, and there is a new bill order. They're going to do Senate Bill 175 first, House Bill 1045 second, and Senate Bill 162 third.
Add the appropriations calendar.
And we're going to add to the appropriations calendar for tomorrow, Senate Bill 166, 167, 174, 179, and 133. So, again, colleagues, let me just remind you, we are not going to adjourn. We have bills to read over after this afternoon, so I'm going to recess us unless Senator Lundberg has something. He has an announcement. Senator Lundberg.
Senator Lundberg.
Thank you, Madam President. Members, I wanted to give you the heads up that in addition to about 100 other things happening tomorrow, tomorrow is what is traditionally called Homeschool Day at the Capitol. There will be many families, usually 1,000 plus people, attending the rally out on the west steps of the Capitol at noon, and so if you are around, I would encourage you to come, and we certainly acknowledge your presence there, and you probably will see some people from back home. Wherever your district is, it's well attended by homeschool families from around the state, and of course they'll have activities going on all day essentially, but that rally at noon is the real important one. So if you can join us, we'd love to have you there. Thank you very much.
Senator Todd.
Thank you, Madam President, and happy Thursday, everybody. Tomorrow is College Day, so wear your college wares. Put on your sweatshirts, your hats, your gloves, your mascots, and promote college days for our students in Colorado. And I'm sure that Senator Herpen and I will both have similar kinds of things to talk about tomorrow. So, reminder, College in Colorado tomorrow, and it's a way for us to exemplify to the students in Colorado that going to college is important. Thank you.
Other announcements? Back to Mr. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. So having told everyone what's going to happen, I'm going to move that the Senate recess to 1 p.m. later today.
You've heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. The Senate will stand in recess till 1 p.m. today.